Hello YouTube, it's me, Prodigi, or Prodigious, whichever one you want to call it. Alright, so continuing from our last video where we opened up and had a little go over of the new Double Typhoon decks, I have made not one, not two, not three, but four different iterations and spins on both Lopmon and Terriermon, and even some combinations of the two. Even though, yes, Double Typhoon is mainly a Terriermon deck, it is possible to make it into a combo deck of the two working together, and even go ahead and use it a combination with some stuff from EX4 to make your existing Lopmon Cherubimon decks better. Alright, so what we're going to do first is we're going to take a look at the usual type of deck that is pulled and made from this, a Lopmon MegaGargomon type of deal. Alright, so first we have our Digi-Eggs. We're running Gummymon that came out of the deck. We're only running 4 because we want consistency. It is possible you might want to run a 5th egg, but for now I'm just going to stick to the 4. Alright, next we are running 4 copies of the EX4 Terriermon. He's a good top deck searcher, helps you find your Henry, and of course his inheritable for Alliance will come in handy at some point. We're also running 4 copies of Terriermon's Assistant. And the reason why is because, again, he is considered Terriermon in name, which is good. He has the same inheritable. And again, if Alliance comes up, and it will, his abilities, that way when you suspend him to give the extra buff, will become even better thanks to his built-in power. Then we're running just 2 copies of the new Terriermon that came out of the deck itself. Being able to, once per turn, drop a Lopmon, or one of your couple of different tamers you have in here, for the cost reduced by 2, is nothing to scoff at. And then you're going to, of course, run the partner that came out of the deck, Lopmon. Because again, the ability to once per turn give a Digimon Alliance, and that's not just that particular Digimon, it's the entire stack. So that means if you actually combo off in the right order to use your previous inheritables to be able to evolve while swinging with Alliance, you can actually give yourself a second instance of Alliance. Yes, that is actually a thing. You can actually stack your Alliance. If you have it built in, and then Lopmon here gives you another one, you can have 2 instances of Alliance, which means you'll tap 1 for 1 trigger of Alliance and tap something else for another trigger of Alliance. In other words, basically it's best when you can somehow get 3 Digimon on the field, 1 with Alliance, 1 being this Lopmon, and then another body. Boom. You have the big boy swing combined with it given Alliance from this. You tap this and you tap the other body. You're getting 3 checks with a massive DP increase. Alright. Now, we're going to run Gargomon. This Gargomon, like I said in the last video, is very good because it's going to basically give you jamming. If you happen to tap this to give yourself the Alliance trigger, you can give him or anybody on your side jamming for that turn. Again, nothing to scoff at. That was probably one of the biggest weaknesses, if you ask me, from EX4, where Alliance fell a little short. Because yes, you can get the DP boost and get the extra swing when you're trying to attack with your level 4 or maybe even your level 5. But if you are unfortunate enough for your opponent to not have an option card revealed for security, but just a simple, slightly stronger Digimon, it hurt. So, and then of course it would not be the MegaGargo version of the deck unless we ran both versions of the Rapidmon armor form. You have the classic one that came out of BT8, where it has Armor Purge, and when digivolving, for each of your tamers, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Then up to 3 of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 5,000 DP for the turn. Again, that's nothing to scoff at. And of course that will increase even better if you have more tamers, because it does it for each tamer. And then you got the new one that came out, the new Double Typhoon deck. It has Blocker and Armor Purge. And when this becomes suspended for any reason, one of your opponent's Digimon and all of their security Digimon gets minus 4. Very nice. And then we're going to run only 2 copies of the actual level 5 Rapidmon, because this thing is nothing to scoff at. It has a great inheritable of all turns when this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle. Trash top card of your opponent's security. And of course it's on play when digivolving, being able to de-digivolve 1 on something, along with getting some protection for the turn. Yeah, very nice. And because you're running all those different versions of Rapidmon, you gotta run the 4 copies of the new MegaGargomon Ace. Being able to hand counter blast digivolve on top of the level 4 armor version of Rapidmon, or just your regular level 5 Rapidmon, it is just so good. But for my version of the deck, I'm adding a little something extra just for fun. I'm running 2 copies of the EX2 MegaGargomon, and I'll let you know why here in a little bit when we get to the tamers. But this is nothing to really scoff at either, because it's pretty good. It gives you a little more extra aggro sometimes when you need a little more extra removal, as it were. When digivolving, for each green tamer you have in play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. They don't unsuspend during your opponent's next unsuspend phase. When attacking once per turn, return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon with DP less than or equal to this Digimon to its owner's hand. So it gives you a little extra removal on top of being a big beater. Now, as you just saw, that MegaGargomon actually has an Evo cost of 4, which does hurt, but thanks to not 1, but now 2 different versions of Henry. We got the Memory Setter one, and we got the new one that came out of the Double Typhoon deck. This Double Typhoon one gives you the ability to biomerge. So if you have a Lotmon, and you have MegaGargo in hand, or can even somehow use an effect to get a Lotmon, or not Lotmon, Cherubimon, pardon me. Need to fix that in edit. When you get Cherubimon onto the field, you can biomerge just by having a Gargomon and a Rapidmon in your trash. Now notice it doesn't actually specify what level Rapidmon, so it means you could even go ahead and make do with the golden armor version. All you need is at least that Gargomon in trash, and then one of your many different versions of Rapidmon. And on top of that, your Cherubimon has Rush, which means your MegaGargomon will have Rush. And then of course we're also going to run as an extra little thing for the tamer side of things. Since it is Cherubimon, we're running Willis. Willis will allow us to go ahead when we drop him, and sometimes we might even be dropping him for only one, thanks to one of our Cherubimons. Will allow us to hatch an egg from our breeding area, and whenever we do Digivolve into a Gargomon or Repidmon, we can suspend him to reduce the cost by 1. So all those work in conjunction to go ahead and mitigate that whole 5 Evo cost. And you gotta have your Double Typhoons. We are sporting both the Lopmon and Cherubimon that came from the Double Typhoon deck. So of course you gotta have the actual Double Typhoon option card. It's going to help you search for your tamer and play one or the other. And its security effect isn't nothing to scoff at either, because again, suspending 2 of your opponent's Digimon, then placing this card in the battle area. Oh yeah. And then 3 copies of Giant Missile. As I said in the last video, this is very nice because its effect can actually potentially target up to 3 different things. You suspend one opponent's Digimon, then return one of their suspended Digimon to the bottom of the deck, and then one of their Digimon can't unsuspend until the end of turn. So you can go ahead and choose to stack that however you want, but if your opponent has up to 3 targets, it can hit all 3. And then the last little extra oomph to give this deck a little more aggro, we're running the classic option card Fire Rocket. Don't have to worry about having the color as long as we have a Digimon that has armor form in its traits. And one of our Digimon with 2 or more colors gains security attack +1. On top of the interesting ability of security effect, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with blocker. And if you're doing that oh so lovely mirror match against another Rapidmon deck like this, guess what? Those new Rapidmons, that's armor forms that came out of this deck, happen to be blockers. So that's that deck. Now, I'm going to go ahead and quickly go over the other side of the coin, which I know I've been saying the wrong name a couple of times in that last segment there. But now we're going to go actually over the actual Lopmon deck that has a hint of some Cherubimon in it. So for the egg for this, we're going to run Cocomon. This is the one out of EX4. Once per turn, when an effect suspends one of your Digimon, draw a card. So you know we're going to be doing some alliance shenanigans. And of course the Lopmon herself that came out of EX4 has the Alliance Inheritable to help you be able to Digivolve during those swings. And on play, Searcher to get yourself a 2-color green Digimon, and the Tamer Susie, as I'm going to call her. I know she's called something else, but I'm going to just call her Susie. And you got to have a little bit of that extra Alliance fun that came out of EX4 by running the Cherubimon, of course. This does search for Henry in a 2-color green Digimon. And of course, same inheritable as Lopmon we just went over. And again, it's Alliance, so you gotta run the Cherubimon's Assistance. Same reason as everything else. It's got the inheritable, and if you do use this for the Alliance fodder, it's gonna give you a bigger boost. Then we're running 4 copies of Cherubimon, if I'm saying that name right. Digivolves from a 2-color, or not 2-color, Digivolves from a level 3 with Lopmon or Cherubimon in name for 2. Has Alliance, and it gives you the actual description of what Alliance does there. Suspend one of your Digimon in order to give this Digimon the DP of the Digimon you suspended, plus a security attack +1. And it also has the inheritable of end of attack. If you have another suspended Digimon in play, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2,000 DP. Then we're running 4 copies of MegaGargomon, also from EX4. Alliance again. Inheritable is different though. This one is end of attack once per turn. If you have another suspended Digimon in play, return 1 green Digimon from your trash to your hand. And then, to go with that lovely Alliance ability, like I've already said so far, Gargomon's a nice, good extra body that can Digivolve from Cherubimon or Lopmon in name for only 2 cost. And if you happen to suspend this for an Alliance trigger, you're giving something jamming. And then, again, just because it is so good, we're running at least 2 copies of the Rapidmon from the Double Typhoon deck. You got Blocker, you got Armor Purge, you got the whole when this becomes suspended for any reason, one of your opponent's Digimon and all their security Digimon gets minus 4. Cannot go wrong. Level 5s. Now we're going to have a bit of an interesting little split on these. We have 3 of the Intillimon from EX4. Digivolves from a 2 color with green for only 3. Has Alliance. Also has end of attack. If you have 3 or fewer security, recover 1. Inheritable, end of attack. If you have another suspended Digimon in play, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2,000. We're also combining that with the other Intillimon, also from EX4. Similar thing, only difference is it's going to be the end of attack ability and the inheritable. End of attack, you may play 1 green level 3 Digimon card from your trash without paying the cost. Very good for this deck. End of attack inheritable. Once per turn, if you have another suspended Digimon, return 1 green Digimon card from your trash to your hand. And then our last level 5, because it has the on-play and win Digivolving effect, plus a very good inheritable, it does not hurt to go ahead and mix it up and run that as well. Because you can de-Digivolve, have protection, and if you do Evo on top of this, you're going to get that nice inheritable of being able to trash security if you decide to take out something with a swing. Now for our megas. We're running 3 copies of Cherubimon. Virtue, I believe, is what some people call it. Digivolves 3 from a level 5 with 2 colors and one of them being green. It has Alliance. It also has when Digivolving and when attacking, but not once per turn. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3,000 DP for the turn for each of your suspended Digimon. We're also running 3 copies of the other Cherubimon. I believe some people has called this Vice Cherubimon. So same thing, Digivolves from a 2 color with green for 3, Alliance. When Digivolving, until the end of your opponent's turn, this Digimon and one of your level 5 or lower Digimon gain, on deletion, you may play this card without paying the cost. So that means if something actually destroys this and the other one's entire stack, it comes back. So if they de-Digivolve you, it still has this floating effect on there. Same thing for the other one you chose. If they de-Digivolve it, it's still on the stack. And then last, because you got to have a little bit of help from your partner there, we're running 2 copies of the Black MegaGargomon. Now, I haven't had a chance to actually see this in action. I'm not sure if I'm correct on the actual ruling on this. I'll have to find out later when I do some testing at some point. But its main effect is end of your turn, once per turn, until the end of your opponent's turn, 2 of your green and or black Digimon gain blocker and reboot. All turns, once per turn. When another Digimon becomes suspended, you may unsuspend this Digimon. So here's the cool thing. If you manage to get one of your Cherubimons and then somehow this black MegaGargo, you can actually use your alliance to trigger this thing. And because you're already swinging and suspending something else, this will unsuspend. So you're getting a massive boost, Security Attack Plus, and then you can do either another swing with this guy or you can keep him up for blocker. I would recommend go ahead and just straight up swinging with him because you're going to have that reboot at the end of turn anyway. So boom, boom. So that means you've managed to do possibly 3 hits on their security, and you have 2 guys ready to block. And of course, it's Double Typhoon, man. You can't go wrong with this thing. It helps you get your Lopmons and Terriermons out. We're running a single copy of Heaven's Judgment because you are running different colors in this deck, primarily green, but you got green-black, you got green-purple, you got green-yellow. So, I mean, there's a good chance that at some point you can go ahead and minus 6,000 DP multiple times for each of those different colors. We're running a single copy of Giant Missile. Again, I've gone over that. It's a very nice card. Can multi-hit different targets. We're running just a simple 2 copies of Henry Wong and Shu Chong Wong, or Susie as I call her. And the reason why is because this is still an alliance deck, and sometimes you need to just get that extra body on board, even if it does die at the end of your opponent's turn. But it also helps out with that other ability of when you do Digivolve and you have a Lopmon or Terriermon as the rookie in that stack, suspend this, reduce the cost by 1. And last but not least, you're running 2 of the Memory Setter Henry Wongs. You get to go ahead and set your memory to 3. Then whenever you swing, you can go ahead and suspend something. I mean, what's wrong with that? Alright, so now we have another deck here, and pardon for not having sleeves on this yet. This one's going to be exclusively an all Terriermon deck that actually evolves and isn't as aggro as the armor form version like a lot of people are probably playing, but it's something I just kind of threw together with what we had left over from some other stuff, and I think it might be still fun to play with. So, running 4 copies of Gummymon from EX2. When an opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, draw a card. Four copies of Terriermon's Assistant. Been over this card a couple times already. Very nice. It's got that nice alliance ability, so that way if you happen to use alliance to tap this down, you get an extra buff. It has a nice inheritable, so if you do have something on top of this and it has alliance and you tap something else, this will help you evolve during that swing. Running 4 copies of, course, Terriermon, same thing. It's a searcher, helps you get a 2-color green Digimon as well as your Henry. We're also running 2 copies of the new Terriermon for Double Typhoon. Because again, being able to possibly play a Tamer for only 2 cost reduced is nothing to scoff at. We're running 4 copies of Black Gargomon. So you're going to have that alliance, and you're going to have the inheritable of your turn. When another effect suspends another Digimon, this Digimon gets plus 2,000 DP. And so its inheritable is saying another Digimon. Doesn't have to be yours, doesn't have to be the opponent's, just as long as something else gets suspended when this is swinging, it gets plus 2,000. That's not bad. Or actually, not even when it's swinging, just during your turn. said it before and I'll say it again. The new Gargomon from the Double Typhoon deck being able to just instantly give something jamming. Very good. Two copies of our new Golden Armor Boy, Rapidmon. Blocker, Armor Purge. When it becomes suspended, minus 4,000 on a Digimon and their security Digimon. Now we're getting to our level 5s. We have Black Rapidmon. Now this one's a little different. This is going to be Alliance. It also has End of Attack. De-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. Inheritable. When an effect suspends another Digimon, this Digimon gains Piercing for the turn. As you can kind of see, this deck is going to probably lean a little towards more the ability of swinging at your opponent's Digimon. Our other level 5 is going to be the new Rapidmon from Double Typhoon. On play, when Digivolving, for 7 cost, being able to get a body on board and Digivolve something, that's pretty good. Now we're taking this back a little old school. We're playing BT3 MegaGargomon. Evo cost for 4. When Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. It doesn't unsuspend during your opponent's next unsuspend phase. And your turn. While your opponent has a suspended Digimon in play, this Digimon gains Security Attack Plus. So suddenly, our inheritables from both the piercing and being able to trash their security when we swing into something and survive is looking much, much nicer. And of course, we got the MegaGargomon. You can't really say no to that. It's an ace. Hand Blast, Counter Digivolution. We're also running 2 copies of Black MegaGargomon. Same thing. It's going to be able to go ahead and just give you that nice ability of it and something else gaining Reboot and Blocker. And when something else becomes suspended, you may unsuspend this Digimon. So it gives you like a little extra swing. It can be an extra blocker. Gives you another blocker on board in general. Universally very nice. And then finally, to round out our circle of various MegaGargomons, we have the one from EX2. So yes, we are running a grand total of 8 Megas in this deck. But this way you got variety. And variety of life is good. We're running 2 copies of Willis, 4 copies of Henry Wong, so that way you can bio-merge. That's going to be awesome since we have so many different versions of MegaGargomon. And then, of course, Henry Wong, the Memory Center. As for our suite of options in this deck, I'm currently just going with 4 giant missiles, because again, can hit multiple targets. So if your opponent has enough out there, you can do several things. Now this last deck out of the 4, I'm a little more happier with, because it's something that I was kind of daydreaming about building, and this will probably get tweaked once we get our hands on EX6. But this is more of a Lotmon version, Cherubimon version as it were. We're running 4 eggs of Argumon, and you're going to see why in here in a little bit. Being able to get an extra memory when we unsuspend, it's going to be nice because you're going to want that extra memory so you can do some nice plays. I've thrown in 2 copies of EX2 Lotmon. On play, if you have 3 or fewer security cards and a Shu Chong Wong, or in other words, Susie, you can recover 1. So being able to have a small instance of recovery, I like that. Puts a new spin on things. And of course, EX4 Lopmon. It's your searcher, gets you a 2-color green Digimon, and your Suzy. Inheritable that does the whole Alliance evolution thing. Can't say no to that. And if you're running a bit of Alliance in here, then you gotta have a little bit of some Terriermon assistance for that Alliance assistance. You know what I mean? We're also packing not 1, but 2 of the Terriermon that came from Double Typhoon and the Lopmon from Double Typhoon. We're running 2 copies of Cherubimon. Already been over her, just strictly Alliance, inheritable of being able to minus 2000 DP if you have something else suspended when you swing. Running 4 copies of MegaGargomon. Alliance, and being able to bring back something from your trash to hand that's green. And then just 2 copies of MegaGargomon from Double Typhoon. Now this one's a little more of an interesting take on this one. Can evo from Lopmon or Terriermon, of course, for only 2. On play or when digivolving, delete 1 level 3 or lower Digimon. If this effect deleted one of your Digimon, so you can get rid of your opponents or yours, but if you delete one of yours, you can play a Terriermon or Lopmon in its name from your trash without paying the cost. So, there's going to be some combos you can do with that. Like, let's say, oh, I evo / on play this. I will get back my Lopmon that lets me recover. Or let's say I want to get back my Terriermon or Lopmon from Double Typhoon. And the reason why you'd probably do that is because there's some nice little sick combos you can do with these 2. You activate their main effect, play this or evo into this, kill it, and then bring it right back and use the effect again. Then we slapped in here 2 copies of Gargomon from Double Typhoon, because again, if you're running any form of Alliance in this, I feel like that just surprise event of having some jamming is very nice. Alright, level 5s. We're running 3 copies of Antilamon from EX2. If you have a Suchong Wong or Suzy in play, your Lopmon can digivolve into this card in your hand for a digivolution cost of 3, ignoring its digivolution requirements. So that means it doesn't even matter what color it is. If you have a green Lopmon, yellow Lopmon, you can evo into this. All you need to have is a Suzy. And then when attacking, once per turn, you may trash the top card of your security stack to unsuspend this Digimon. So if you want, you could go ahead and do that nice little play of being able to get an extra swing in. Or, at the very least, get yourself a swing in, sacrifice security, and restand because you're about to digivolve into your Mega. We're running 2 copies of the EX4 Antilamon because it offers us that little end of attack ability to recover. So that makes a grand total of 4 cards in this deck that can help us recover in a pinch. And of course, end of attack inheritable of once per turn if you have another suspended Digimon, minus 2000 DP on something. Then we're running 3 copies of the other Antilamon from EX4. Because again, Alliance, end of attack, you can play a green level 3 Digimon. And of course, the end of attack inheritable of being able to get back a green Digimon from your trash to hand. Our Megas, we are running straight up just Cherubimon, Virtue as you might call it. Alliance, along with the when digivolving, when attacking skill. But we're also running 3 copies of the new Cherubi from the Double Typhoon deck. It gives you Alliance. It says when Digivolving, you may delete 1 level 4 or lower Digimon. Then you may play 1 level 4 or lower green or purple Digimon from your hand or trash without paying the cost. And what makes this so good is it actually also says it Digivolves just from Intillimon for a cost of 3. So that means you are able to possibly warp up to your Cherubimon very quickly. Got a Lotmon and a Hint and a Susie. You go ahead and just Evo into this. And like I said, you might do that cheeky little swing. You might even have Alliance popped onto this thanks to another Lotmon. So you swing. You sacrifice security so you can stand back up. Now you Evo into this. And technically, you actually still have not 1 but 2 instances of Alliance. So that means if you actually have an additional 2 bodies on board, you can make another swing, tap those other 2 bodies, gain a lot of DP, and be swinging for 3 checks. Unlikely, I know, but the fact that you could possibly pull it off is fun. And of course, we gotta have the lady herself, little Shu Chong Wong, or Susie. We're also combining her with a little bit of some Mimi for our memory fixer. Plus being able to speed up that whole breeding phase and being able to pop out our Digimon quicker from our breeding area is very good when we got the Alliance thing going on. And then for a little extra added backup, we're running the dual tamer of Henry and Susie. And then for just that extra push of some more memory, just because if I feel like this deck can play like it's going to when you want to play multiple bodies just so you can get those multiple instances of Alliance, I'm running an Izzy and Mimi. If your opponent has a suspended Digimon in play at the start of your turn, gain a memory. On top of the ability of when you attack with a level 5 green Digimon, you may suspend this tamer to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. And you may Digivolve one of your green Digimon into that green level 6 that you revealed. So it helps you speed up in case you were having issues. Not that you probably will need it, but it can. And of course, 3 Double Typhoons. I feel like this is definitely needed when you're running a little bit of both of them together in some sense. And then 2 copies of Heaven's Judgment. And again, I feel like this deck will do a lot better once EX6 comes out, because we're going to have a lot more of the 3 Great Angels Cherubimon action going on. It might even get a little small bust thanks to the whole Cherubimon X antibody coming out in BT16. But yeah, for now, that is basically a rough rundown of the 4 different variants and takes of the Double Typhoon decks. Like I said in the last video, you can brainstorm all kinds of decks, and just the whole Lotmon Terriermon from EX4 alone for a while there gave people a nice jumping point. You just use them plus a couple of the Alliance level 4s and 5s, and then use whatever green level 6 mega you want. You could actually turbo into your level 6 a lot faster than normal, just because of that whole being able to, oh, I use Alliance, I swing, I tap a body for it, and now I get to evolve during my swing. But anyway, that is it for me right now. I know you got tired of my ramblings, and I also want to apologize for some of my possibly rough edits. Still new to this, but I hope you enjoyed what you just now saw. It might even give you some ideas of your own. And again, this is just my take. You could probably take out a couple cards here and there and make room for a couple more of the more staple-ish cards, like say the green memory boosts or green training cards. But that's just my hot take on those. This is Prodigious signing off.